And welcome back to the Writer's Notebook TV show, where we go inside the book and the mind of an author. Join me in welcoming our first guest, Minister Shontell Stanford. You've written a wonderful book, Declare and Decree a Thing, and It Shall Be Established. Congratulations, your first book.
Thank you.
In the book, you assert that we either speak life or we speak death into our situations, and you also share a powerful testimony that I assume led you to write this book. Tell us about that testimony.
Well, I am a survivor of domestic violence, and I had gotten to a point in my life that it was either life or death. And I had a great encounter one time in the emergency room, and God just came to me and said that you have to live. And I decided from that point forward that that is exactly what I was going to do. Proverbs 18 and 21 talks about that the power of life and death is in our tongue. And that's where we have to start. We have to start believing who we are and whose we are. And by doing that, speaking those things.
And I've been trying to be conscious of that, so I was particularly interested in certain portions of your book. I have a teenager. And I know you have 3 kids, well, 5 kids now.
Yes.
But when you were going through your testimony period, your really trying period in life, you had 3, and I have 3 boys. One of them is a teenager, and you know, yeah. Pray for me. And so, but often I find myself speaking negatively or not positively into his life.
Right.
And so how would this book help me if I'm trying to do a better job of speaking good things into the lives of not just my teenage child, but my other children as well?
That's very important, and I'm glad that you asked that, because a lot of times we get frustrated with our kids, with life, with everything that's going on, and it's so important to empower them with positivity, empower them, be your child's greatest cheerleader, if you will. It is so important that you are speaking those things so that we are a product of our environment. Pretty much. And if they're around positivity and those things, then that is what will manifest.
Okay, it's so important. I want to go back to your testimony, because you shared that you were an abused wife, but you also were almost homeless. You had, what, a 98 or 88 Cutlass Supreme, you say, exactly. When it came down, when you were at your lowest, but you had your 3 children, that Cutlass Supreme, mm-hmm. And it brought you from Detroit to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. Yes. At my very lowest point, I didn't care whether I was going to live or I was going to die, because it almost seemed as though that wasn't in my hands anymore. It had been well over 12 years that I was in this relationship. I have 3 beautiful children by this union, but in the same token, I had gotten to a point that either I didn't really know what was going to happen tomorrow, and I guess I was just very depressed and had gotten to very low points that I just didn't know. I didn't know what was going to happen. And like I said, in the emergency room one day, mm-hmm. shattered, bleeding, just hollering. I think that at that point was a breaking point for me. And I had a wonderful nurse that was attending to me at that time, and she just began to recite just Jesus. It was just something about that name that as she continued to say that, it continued to give me power. And like I said, after that encounter just said, you must live and not die. And so that is where I decided that it is time for me and my kids. So, you know, I had a house, cars, a wonderful job there, and I left all of that behind. I packed my 3 kids up. I got in my 88
That's
Cutlass, and I drove. And in the year 2000, it was a very winter night. I was scared, but I was driving into destiny.
Well, your testimony certainly leads us to want to read the book. But this is not a book that you just read. It's one that you have to profess, that you have to really immerse yourself in. Tell us a little bit about that, the declarations that we have to offer.
Exactly. Well, as the Bible also says, that faith without works is dead. So we can believe, but then again, what are you going to do with that you believe? And so this book is helps you to do that. There's declarations for different areas of your life, provisions, your children, spiritual growth, those type of things. And what I mean by declaration is declaring the will and the word of God into your life. And then after that, there's where you can scribe for yourself your own declarations on a daily basis.
So it's definitely interactive. Where can people get this book? And then tell us, we have a few seconds left, about your second offering.
Sure. Well, I will be doing a book signing on the 22nd of this month, and they can come there. That is at Bereans Christian Center. And also on my website, which is www.writethevisions.com, and they will be able to get it that way as well.
Okay, and then you have another book that's coming up very quickly. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure, that is They Overcame Him, and they overcame him, meaning the enemy. It's a book of testimonies, which will be a series, and I open up for people to bring their testimonies to me.
Okay, Minister Shontell Stanford, we certainly enjoyed meeting you. Beautiful woman. Thank you for sharing your story and for writing this book.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. And you stay with us, everyone. Right after the break, we'll talk to another sensational author, Detroit author Lois Banks, right after the break.